Hello valued viewers, I hope you're all doing very well. I thought we would take a quick look at the main UTIL utility MPD page in the Apache. At the moment only about 50% of it is modelled, but I get a sneaky suspicion that all of it will be modelled in the future, so I figured it was best to go through it. So on one of our MPDs, let's go to main menu and let's go to UTIL and focus in there. If we start on the left, boxed by FMC, Flight Management Computer. The cyclic stick and the collective and the anti-torque pedals do not have direct control of the flight surfaces. They are interpreted and augmented by the flight management computer. And those FMC functions here are divided into 4 axes: pitch, roll, yaw, and collective, all on as standard, as you would imagine, and I can force them off if we want. If we do, we get master caution, and on the EUFD, FMC disengaged, just to show that we can remove them all and put them all back on. Next is trim, and this is on as standard. It will enable or disable the force trim magnetic brakes on the cyclic and the anti-torque pedals in the pilot cruise station. If I disable this function, it will also disable the associated functions of the force trim hold mode switch on the cyclic. And if I turn it off, obviously I'll get a warning. Next is my favourite, NOEA, Nap of the Earth / Approach FMC mode. Off as standard. If I were to turn it on, if I am flying below 80 knots, then the stabilator on the rear of the aircraft is automatically pitched 25 degrees down at the rear. And it does that because visibility over the nose, as you all know, especially from the pilot station, is terrible. So if we're approaching somewhere to land, by having the stabilator pitched down, it forces the aircraft to fly at a nose down attitude, giving me a much better view of where I want to land. Until I realized this, I always used to land by looking out the side, but in this case we can approach from the front. Next we have the bleed air box. Engines in pretty much all aircraft bleed air at various compressor stages to power certain elements of the aircraft. I can turn bleed air for engine 1 and 2 on or off here, on as standard. Be very careful about turning these off because in the Apache I'm pretty sure they run vital systems. For instance, I know that the auxiliary fuel system only functions if you have bleed air coming from the engines. At the top here, FAT, free air temperature, basically the temperature outside in degrees Celsius. Down here we have the pilot cockpit temperature. Our environmental control system, or ECS, controls this. I'm pretty sure it's not modelled in-game and probably never will be, but just for funsies, we can turn our environmental control system on and off here and control how hot we want it in the cockpit. If we click there, move over to the keyboard unit and type in, I don't know, I'm feeling a bit too hot today, so 60 degrees. I've commanded 60 degrees. The final part is the anti-icing, and this part is not modelled at the moment, but I suspect it will be added at some point and will probably become very important, hence why I'm doing this video. So first, we've got an automatic ice detector on the aircraft, showing here trace ice. Again, not modelled at the moment, but maybe in the future. Ice is obviously a massive problem for all aircraft flying in sub-zero temperatures. Then we have the control of the anti-ice systems. We can either have it in manual or auto. Now, I can't press these at the moment because they're not modelled, but if they're added, I can obviously press these buttons. Manual means that after detecting the amount of ice, I can manually control which systems I want to anti-ice. If it's an auto, it will all be done automatically with manual override. If we were to enable pitot here, we would energize the anti-ice systems on the flight air detecting sensors outside of the aircraft. Obviously very vulnerable and important. Inlet, I would energize the inlet to the engines and front gearboxes as well. Note that when I enable that, it will affect the performance of the engines. Canopy is an obvious one if we want to de-ice the canopy, currently not modelled obviously. And finally, sensor at the bottom here. The sensor suite in the turret at the front also has anti-ice elements in it for the screens and the shrouds, and we will be able to heat that as well. And that's it, viewers. As I said, half of it not modelled at the moment, but it may be. I hope that will become useful, and bye bye.